Now, friend, let me tell you about the winter of '76 and how one mark changed everything. January wind cut through Silver Creek like a blade. 12 degrees, maybe less, the kind of cold that burns your lungs with every breath. I smelled wood smoke and livestock before I saw the crowd. 40, 50 folks packed into the town square, all staring at the same thing. 3 women hung upside down from the punishment post, young ones, their wrists bound with rope, faces blood red from hanging. The wooden sign above them read, "Claim jumpers, forgers." Sheriff Cobb's voice carried across the frozen plaza. Jacob Brennan's signature forged on a land deed after his death. The law's clear on fraud. The crowd jeered, threw snowballs, spat. I pushed closer, boots crunching frozen mud. That's when I saw it. The mark on the eldest girl's wrist. 3 circles overlapping, burned into her skin, raised scar tissue, pale against the cold. My chest tightened. I knew that mark. The surveyor's chain creaked as I touched the post. Same sound from the mine shaft 8 years back. Same mark that saved my life. I reached for my money belt. "Stop!" My voice cut through the noise. "I'll pay their debt." Sheriff Cobb turned. His eyes narrowed. "Caleb Thornton, you posting bond for these 3?" "I am." The crowd muttered. Vernon Hackett stepped off the general store porch, arms crossed. Expensive coat, clean boots, the kind of man who never got mud on himself. "You know what you're doing, Thornton?" Hackett's voice was smooth, reasonable. "These girls forged a dead man's signature. That's a hanging offense." I met his eyes. "I know what I'm doing." Inside the sheriff's office, the stove ticked with heat, smelled like gun oil and old coffee. I dropped my leather pouch on the desk. Silver coins spilled out, $1,200, every spare dollar I had, my winter feed money. Cobb counted it twice. "This covers the bond, but you understand the terms? 90 days to prove their claim or you lose it all, the money, and they hang anyway." "I understand." He scratched his pen across the custody papers. The sound grated. "You're betting your ranch on 3 strangers, Caleb. That's not like you." "Maybe I'm tired of being like me." Hackett leaned against the doorframe. "You just made a bad mistake, Thornton. Those girls are murderers and thieves. When they hang, you'll hang right alongside them." I picked up the signed papers. "We'll see." Outside, the sisters sat in the jail wagon, wrists still bound. The youngest one, couldn't be more than 19, had tears frozen on her cheeks. The middle one stared at nothing, but the eldest watched me with eyes like flint. I climbed onto the driver's bench, released the brake. The wagon lurched forward, chains rattling against wood. No one spoke for the first mile. The wind picked up once we left town, nothing but white plains and gray sky. My breath came out in clouds. The cold made my joints ache, but I'd felt worse. At the creek crossing, I stopped, cut the ropes on their wrists with my pocket knife. The eldest pulled her hands close, rubbing circulation back. "Why?" "Need to see something first." She hesitated, then held out her wrist. I touched the brand mark. My hand shook, 3 circles forming a trinity knot. The scar tissue was old, maybe 10 years, burned slow, deliberate, the kind of mark that doesn't fade. This is a surveyor's brand. Only one man used this mark." She pulled her hand back. "Our father, Jacob Brennan. You knew him?" The mine shaft came back to me then, the darkness, the weight of rock and earth pressing down. My lantern smashed, air running out, and then, hands grabbing me, a chain scraping stone. That voice, "Hold tight, son, this chain won't fail you." When they pulled me into daylight, I saw the mark on the chain. 3 circles welded into the first link, Jacob Brennan's mark. "He saved my life," I said quietly. 8 years ago, mine collapsed over in Bannock. I grabbed his surveying chain in the dark, and he pulled me out. I'd know this mark in hell itself. The girl's expression didn't soften. "Then you know our father was murdered 6 months ago, pushed off a ridge by men wearing Vernon Hackett's brand, and you know the law in this town belongs to the man with the most money." The middle sister spoke for the first time. Her voice was steady, cold. "Our father is dead because of men like you, men who see wrong and ride on anyway." That cut deeper than the wind. "Maybe," I said, "but I'm not riding on today." The youngest one, still crying, looked up. "Why are you helping us?" I gathered the reins. "Because Jacob Brennan didn't let me die in that mine. I won't let you die in this town." The eldest sister's jaw tightened. "You don't owe us anything. You owe a dead man, and the dead don't collect debts." "Some debts collect themselves." I snapped the reins. The wagon rolled forward, wheels crunching through ice. Behind us, smoke from Silver Creek rose into the gray sky. Ahead, my ranch waited, empty for too long. The eldest sister leaned back against the wagon side. "You just bet everything on 3 strangers, Mr. Thornton. You'll lose your ranch, probably your life." "Reckon that's possible." "Then you're a fool." I didn't answer. Maybe she was right. But I'd seen that mark, heard that chain creak, and felt something I hadn't felt in 4 years. Purpose. The youngest whispered to her sisters, "What if he's telling the truth?" The eldest didn't take her eyes off me. "Then he just bought himself a war he can't win." The ranch appeared through the snow just after noon. Log cabin, weathered barn, corral fence, half buried in drifts, looked smaller than I remembered, lonelier. I helped them down from the wagon. The youngest, her name was Esther, could barely stand, legs numb from the cold. "Barn's warmer than it looks," I said. "Got space in the loft, blankets, straw. I'll bring food once you're settled." The middle sister, Ruth, studied the property with sharp eyes, surveyor's eyes. "This land borders the disputed claim. Adjacent. Your father's parcel runs along my eastern boundary. Then you have something to gain from helping us. I have something to lose by not helping you." They took the barn without argument. I heard them whispering as I walked back to the cabin. Didn't catch the words, but the tone was clear. Distrust. Couldn't blame them. I made coffee, fried salt pork, cut bread. My hands moved through the old routine. The cabin smelled like wood smoke and loneliness. 4 years since Martha passed. 4 years of eating alone. When I brought the food to the barn, Nora, the eldest, was standing guard at the door. "We're not charity cases," she said. "Didn't say you were. And we're not here to keep a lonely old man company." That stung, but I kept my face neutral. "Food's getting cold." She took the tray without thanks. Inside, Ruth was examining my old surveying equipment hanging on the wall. Transit, chain, compass, all dusty now. Hadn't used them in years. "You were a surveyor?" Ruth asked. "Long time ago." "But you quit?" "Decided ranching was simpler." "Or safer," Nora said from the doorway. I didn't answer that, just left the food and walked back through the snow. 3 days later, I rode into town. Land office was on the north side of the square, brick building, barred windows. The county recorder kept office there, man named Pettigrew, Hackett's man. Inside smelled like old paper and lamp oil. Pettigrew sat behind a desk stacked with ledgers, thin man, ink-stained fingers. "Need to file an appeal," I said. "Brennan land claim, case number..." "Denied." He didn't look up. "You haven't heard my..." "Don't need to." He opened a drawer, pulled out a deed, slid it across the desk. "Official county deed, Jacob Brennan's signature right there, dated September 10th, 2 weeks after his death." I picked it up. The signature looked right. Too right. "This is a forgery." Pettigrew smiled. Thin lips, no warmth. "That's a serious accusation, Mr. Thornton. You got proof?" "I got common sense. Man can't sign a deed 2 weeks after he dies. Death certificate says August 28th. This is dated September 10th. You're reading it wrong." "The hell I am." The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Vernon Hackett stepped inside, brushing snow from his shoulders. He moved like he owned the building. Probably did. "Caleb, didn't expect to see you here." "Just filing an appeal." "Already denied," Pettigrew said. He pulled out an official stamp, brought it down hard on a form. The sound echoed. "Denied." Hackett leaned against the filing cabinet. "You know what that Brennan land has, Caleb? 480 acres. The only year-round creek in this valley. Every other water source freezes or runs dry. That creek never stops. You understand what that means?" My jaw tightened. "I understand." "Without water rights, your cattle die by July. My cattle die by July. Every rancher within 20 miles dies by July." He pulled out a cigar, didn't light it. "I'm offering you a deal. Drop this case. I'll give you water rights for 10 years. No charge. And the girls? They hang, clean and legal." The room felt smaller, colder. I could hear Pettigrew's pen scratching paper behind me. "What if I don't?" Hackett's expression didn't change. "Then you lose everything by spring. The bond, your ranch, and those girls hang anyway. But at least you'll have tried, right? That'll be real comforting when you're standing in the snow with nothing." He walked to the door, stopped. "You've got 87 days left, Caleb. Think about it." The door closed. The bell above it chimed once. Pettigrew slid the denied paperwork across the desk. "You're done here, Thornton." I walked out into the cold. Nora was waiting by my horse, hood pulled low. Well, she asked. Denied. Hackett owns the county recorder. Told you. We rode back in silence. The wind picked up. Snow started falling again, thick and heavy. At the ranch, she finally spoke. He offered you a deal, didn't he? Water rights for our lives. He did. And you said no. I did. She dismounted, stood there in the snow, looking at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're either the bravest man I've met, Mr. Thornton, or the dumbest. Reckon I'll find out which. She walked toward the barn, stopped halfway. My father used to say the ground keeps secrets until it's ready to tell them. He kept duplicate field books, buried them with him in the cemetery. Ground's frozen solid. I know, that's why Hackett thinks he's won. She looked back. But come spring, when the thaw comes, maybe the ground will talk. The days fell into a rhythm, cold mornings, chores, silence. Ruth started helping without being asked. I'd find her in the barn before dawn, feeding the horses, mucking stalls. She moved efficiently, like someone who knew ranch work, never complained about the cold. Esther stayed close to the stove, writing letters. To her fiancé, she said. Timothy Moss, worked as a clerk at the land office. I didn't mention that made him Hackett's man. Didn't need to, she knew. Nora kept her distance, watched everything, trusted nothing. One morning I found Ruth by the fence line studying the terrain. Snow stretched east toward the disputed boundary. She had her hand shading her eyes, calculating something. You know surveying, I asked. My father taught me. Ruth, he'd say, a good surveyor reads land like a preacher reads scripture. Her voice softened. I was going to be the first licensed woman surveyor in Montana. That was before... She didn't finish. I walked closer. The snow crunched under my boots. Your father was the best surveyor I ever knew. Had a gift for reading terrain. He said you were good too. Said you quit after the mine collapse. Seemed like a sign. Or fear. That stung, but she wasn't wrong. I'd spent 8 years running from memories. Easier to tend cattle than measure land where men died. Ruth turned to me. Mr. Thornton, if you still have your old surveying notes, the ones from when you worked with my father, they might help our case. County recorder won't accept personal notes. Already tried. But they're evidence. They prove the original boundary. Not in Hackett's court. She looked back at the land. Then we'll need to find another court. That afternoon I rode into town. Needed to repair a wagon wheel. Dutch Kellerman's blacksmith shop sat on the east edge, far enough from the square that a man could think. The forge glowed red, smelled like hot metal and coal smoke. Dutch stood at the anvil, hammer ringing against iron. Steady rhythm, honest work. He was 58, German immigrant, built like an ox. Hackett held the mortgage on his shop, but Dutch never let that bend him. Caleb, he set down the hammer. Heard you posted bond for the Brennan girls. Word travels. Stupid word or brave word? Still deciding. He wiped his hands on his apron, studied me with those sharp blue eyes. Jacob Brennan was a good man. What happened to him wasn't right. You think it was murder? Dutch glanced toward the door, lowered his voice. I think accidents don't happen to men who threaten Vernon Hackett's profits. He walked to a corner workbench, pulled out a worn ledger. Been keeping track. 8 years. Every land transfer that went through the county office. I opened it, page after page of dates, names, acreage. Boundary discrepancies marked in red ink. This is proof, maybe, if anyone bothered to look. Dutch tapped a page. 18 claims in 8 years. Every one of them had errors in the original survey. Every error benefited Hackett. Why haven't you taken this to the law? Because Hackett owns the sheriff, owns the recorder, owns half the judges in Montana. He closed the ledger. But Judge Pritchard, the circuit judge, he's different, can't be bought. Problem is, he won't be here for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. The bond expired in 12. Dutch walked to a pile of scrap metal near the forge, dug through it, pulled out something wrapped in burlap. Found this behind the land office last year. Thought it was nothing. He unwrapped it. A surveyor's chain, old, 66 feet of linked metal, and welded into the first link, 3 overlapping circles. The Trinity brand mark. My hand reached for it before I could think. The metal was cold, solid, the mark clear as day. This is Jacob's chain. Figured. After I heard about the brand on those girls' wrists, I remembered it. Dutch's voice was quiet. If Jacob used that mark on his survey stakes, And you can find the original stakes. They're under 6 feet of snow. But come April, we looked at each other. The forge popped. Sparks drifted up. You're risking a lot helping me, I said. Hackett finds out. Hackett holds my mortgage, not my conscience. Dutch wrapped the chain back up, handed it to me. When the time comes, use this. Public ceremony. Make everyone watch you measure the boundary the old way, legal, witnessed, the way Jacob would have done it. I took the chain, felt the weight of it, same weight I'd felt in that mine shaft pulling me toward air and life. Dutch, if this goes wrong, then at least we'll know we tried. He picked up his hammer. Now get out of here before someone sees you. And Caleb? Tell Ruth Brennan her father was proud of her. He told me so a week before he died. Outside, the sun was setting. The snow glowed pink and gold. I tied the wrapped-in chain to my saddle. My hands shook, not from cold. For the first time since posting that bond, I felt something other than dread. Hope. Small. Fragile. But there. The horse started forward. Behind me, Dutch's hammer rang against the anvil. Steady. Rhythmic. The sound of a man who still believed in honest work. February came with teeth. I found them in the north pasture. 12 head of cattle, frozen stiff, ribs showing through their hides. They'd starved slowly while I was fighting for 3 strangers. Ruth stood beside me. The wind cut across the open ground, smelled like death and failure. This is our fault, she said. No. You spent your feed money on our bond. I made a choice. A stupid choice. Her voice cracked. These animals died because of us. I knelt beside the nearest cow, touched the frozen hide, hard as stone. Your father didn't let me die in that mine. I won't let you die in this town. What if we all die anyway? Didn't have an answer for that. We spent the day dragging carcasses to the ravine. Hard work. The ground was frozen, couldn't bury them properly, just had to pile them and wait for spring. By evening, my back screamed, my hands were raw. Ruth worked beside me without complaint. Strong girl, her father's daughter. When we finished, she looked at the remaining cattle. How many left? 38. Will they make it to spring? If we're careful, if we're lucky. And if Hackett wins? Then none of it matters, I thought, but I didn't say it. That night, Nora knocked on the cabin door. First time she'd come to the house. Town meeting tomorrow, she said. Hassel? Hackett called it. Public forum on the land dispute. He's forcing a confrontation. He's putting you on trial. She stepped inside. The cabin smelled like coffee and wood smoke. You don't have to do this. Take his deal. Save yourself. No. My father wouldn't want you to... Your father saved my life. That means something. She studied me. Firelight caught her face. You're going to lose everything, Mr. Thornton. Your ranch, your reputation, maybe your life. Reckon that's possible. Then you're a damn fool. Been called worse. The town hall was packed. 60, maybe 70 people. Tobacco smoke thick in the air. The stove in the corner ticked with heat, smelled like unwashed bodies and tension. Hackett sat at the front table with Pettigrew and Sheriff Cobb. Looked like a judge's bench, that was the point. I walked in with Nora and Ruth. Every head turned. The whispers started immediately. Found a spot near the back. Standing room only. Hackett stood, raised his hands for quiet. Thank you all for coming. We're here to address a matter of public concern. Caleb Thornton has posted bond for 3 women accused of forging land deeds. He claims they're innocent, claims the county recorder made errors. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I've asked Mr. Thornton to present his evidence. All eyes turned to me. I pulled out my old field notes, leather-bound journal from 67 and 68, pages yellowed, ink faded, but the measurements were there, the boundary marks. Jacob's Trinity brand noted at every stake. These are my surveying notes from when I worked with Jacob Brennan. They show the original boundary 200 yards west of where the county claims. Hackett didn't even look at them. Personal journals hold no legal weight, Mr. Thornton. The official maps are what matter. Then let's resurvey. Use proper equipment. Witnesses. Can't do that. Pettigrew stood. Your surveying tools have been impounded. We filed a lien yesterday. Equipment's being held as evidence in the fraud investigation. The room spun. What investigation? Conspiracy to defraud the county. Sheriff Cobb's voice was flat. You're under investigation too, Thornton. Aiding known criminals. Hackett leaned forward. Reasonable. Calm. Caleb, you're a good man who's been deceived. These women have manipulated you. Their father was a fraud. They're frauds. The law is clear. The law can be bought. My voice came out harder than I intended. That's slander. Hackett's eyes went cold. You're accusing this office of corruption. In front of witnesses. I'm saying the truth. Your truth. He stood, addressed the crowd. Caleb Thornton is a lonely old man. Lost his wife 4 years ago. Been alone ever since. Then 3 young women come along with a sad story, and he spends his life savings to buy their company. Heat rushed to my face. The room felt smaller. That's not... You posted $1,200, your entire winter budget, now your cattle are dying, your ranch is failing, and you're standing here accusing honest men of corruption because you can't admit you made a mistake. The crowd shifted, some nodded, others looked away. Preacher Walton stood in the middle rows. Perhaps we should wait for Judge Pritchard. Let him... Pritchard won't arrive for 6 weeks. Hackett's voice cut through. These girls hang in 4. Unless Mr. Thornton can prove their claim, which he can't, because it's a lie. I looked around the room, saw doubt on every face. Dutch stood by the wall, arms crossed, jaw tight. But he didn't speak. Couldn't. Hackett held his mortgage. The general store owner looked at his boots. The saloon keeper shook his head. One by one, they turned away. In the back row, a young man stood abruptly, pale, sweating despite the cold. Timothy Moss, the land office clerk, Esther's fiancé. He stumbled toward the door, pushed through the crowd. Gone. Nora grabbed my arm, leaned close. Her breath was warm against my ear. My father didn't die in a riding accident, she whispered. I saw 2 men push him off the ridge. They wore Hackett's brand on their saddles. The world tilted. Hackett was still talking. Good people of Silver Creek, I move that we... This meeting is over. I pulled away from Nora, headed for the door. Behind me, Hackett's voice followed. You've got 81 days left, Thornton. Then those girls hang, and you lose everything. Outside, the cold air hit like a fist. I leaned against the hitching post. My hands shook. Dutch appeared beside me, said nothing, just stood there. He owns everything, I said. The recorder, the sheriff, the whole damn town. Not the judge, not the truth. Truth doesn't matter if no one's listening. Ruth and Nora came out. Esther was crying. The townspeople filed past, avoiding eye contact. Some muttered, others just walked faster. I was alone in the middle of town, surrounded by people who'd turned their backs. Nora's words echoed in my head. 2 men pushed him off the ridge. Murder, not just fraud. This wasn't about land anymore. We rode back in silence. The cold pressed down. My breath came out in clouds. At the ranch, Nora dismounted and walked toward the creek. Not the barn, not the cabin, the frozen creek where the willows stood bare and black against the snow. I followed. She stood with her back to me. Wind moved through the branches, dry rattle, like bones. You should take his deal, she said. No. You'll lose everything. Already lost plenty. She turned. Her face was hard, but her eyes carried something I recognized. The weight of secrets kept too long. My father didn't fall off that ridge, Mr. Thornton. He was pushed. The words hung in the frozen air. You saw it? I was trailing him that day. He didn't know. Her voice cracked. I was angry. He'd forbidden me from going to town alone. Said it wasn't safe. I followed him to prove I could. She wrapped her arms around herself. The cold bit through our coats, smelled like pine in winter, clean and sharp. He stopped at the ridge, the one overlooking Hackett's north pasture. He was making notes, checking something. Then 2 riders came up behind him. Did you recognize them? No, but their horses wore Hackett's brand. The VH on the right flank, I saw it clear. She looked at me. They didn't say much, just rode up close. One grabbed his reins, the other, he shoved. My father went over. My fists clenched. Why didn't you tell the sheriff? Because I'm not stupid. Cobb works for Hackett. Everyone knows it. We reported it as an accident or we'd have been next. Her breath shook. I've kept my sisters alive for 6 months by staying quiet, by not making waves. And then you showed up with your guilt and your $1,200 and your father saved my life. My father's dead. Her voice broke. And nothing you do will bring him back. The wind picked up. Snow began to fall, soft at first, then harder. No, I said, but maybe I can stop Hackett from taking everything else. She turned away, wiped her eyes. How? You heard them in there. Nobody's listening. They think you're a lonely fool. Then we fight this a different way. What way? The truth, on our terms, not his. She looked back at the frozen creek. The ground keeps his secrets until spring. Then we wait for spring. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed, listening to the wind rattle the windows. Kept seeing Jacob Brennan falling. Kept hearing that chain creak in the darkness. Just before dawn, I gave up. Lit the lantern, went to the attic. Hadn't been up there since Martha died. Too many memories. Her wedding dress in a trunk, my old boots, boxes of papers I'd meant to sort through. The attic smelled like dust and old wood, mouse droppings in the corners, cobwebs thick on the rafters. I pulled out the first trunk. Newspapers from '68, bills of sale, receipts, nothing useful. The second trunk was heavier, leather field books, survey maps, my old compass wrapped in oilcloth. I heard boots on the ladder. Ruth climbed up, lantern in hand. Couldn't sleep either, she asked. Figured I'd look for something that might help. She set her lantern down, knelt beside the trunk. What are we looking for? Anything from '67 or '68, when your father and I surveyed this valley. We worked in silence. The only sounds were pages turning and our breathing. Outside, the first birds started singing, dawn coming. Ruth pulled out a leather portfolio, untied the string. Inside were maps, technical drawings, boundary surveys. She unfolded one carefully. The paper crackled, brittle with age. Mr. Thornton, I moved closer. The lantern light fell across the map, dated March 1867. Jacob Brennan's signature at the bottom, licensed surveyor, Montana Territory. The boundary line was marked clear, 200 yards west of where Hackett claimed. And in the margin, in Jacob's neat handwriting, primary stakes placed at 50-yard intervals. Trinity brand mark burned into each per standard protocol. Stakes are 4 oak, charred for preservation. Ruth's hands trembled. If these stakes are still there, they're under 6 feet of snow. But in April, when the thaw comes, we could find them, physical proof. I touched the map. The paper was soft, fragile, real. Ruth looked at me, her eyes bright in the lantern light. This is it. This is what we need. Hackett will say it's fake, like my field notes. Then we make him prove it's fake. Public resurvey, witnesses, we follow your map to the stakes. She studied the markings. Papa's notes say the primary marker is at Creek Bend, North Bank, 3 feet from Willow Root. I knew that willow. Big one. Been there since I was young. Ground won't thaw for 6 weeks, I said. We have 7 before the bond expires. Cutting it close. Everything about this is close. She carefully refolded the map. Mr. Thornton, do you really think we can win? I thought about the town meeting, the turnbacks, Hackett's smile. Then I thought about Jacob, in that mine shaft. The weight of the chain, the sound of his voice. Hold tight, son. I think, Sinhig, I said slowly, that sometimes a man doesn't fight to win. He fights because it's right. And if he's lucky, if he's got help, maybe right is enough. Ruth tucked the map inside her coat. My father used to say that. Your father was a wise man. He was a dead man, murdered for telling the truth. Then we'd better make sure his truth survives. We climbed down from the attic. The cabin was warming. I could smell coffee from the night before. Cold, but still there. Outside, the sun broke the horizon, pink and gold across the snow, beautiful and brutal. Ruth paused at the door. 6 weeks until the thaw. Can you hold on that long? Done harder things. Like what? Stayed alive in a collapsed mine with no light and bad air. Your father's chain got me through that. I looked at her. Reckon his map can get us through this. March came, with false promises. The sun stayed longer. Ice on the water troughs started melting during the day. Froze again at night. Not spring yet, just winter pretending to loosen its grip. Sheriff Cobb rode up on a Tuesday morning. I was mending fence in the south pasture. Heard his horse before I saw him. He dismounted, handed me folded papers. Official county seal, wax still fresh. Sorry, Caleb. Orders. I unfolded them. Legal language. Too many words for a simple thing. Equipment lien, filed by Vernon Hackett against Caleb Thornton. All surveying tools and instruments to be held as evidence pending investigation into conspiracy to defraud. You're taking my equipment? Already did. Went to your barn this morning. Ruth let me in. Transit, compass, measuring chains. It's all impounded at the land office. My jaw tightened. On what grounds? Says right there. Conspiracy. Using false instruments to create fraudulent surveys. Cobb's voice was flat, doing his job. Hating it. I don't like this any more than you do. Then don't do it. I got a family, Caleb. Mortgage. Hackett holds paper on half this town. I can't. He stopped, looked at his boots. You got 43 days left. Find another way. He rode off, left me standing there with papers in my hand and nothing else. Inside the barn, Ruth was crying, quiet, the kind of crying that hurts more than sobbing. I'm sorry, she said. He had a warrant. I couldn't stop him. Not your fault. Without equipment, we can't resurvey, can't prove anything. She wiped her eyes. We're finished. Nora appeared from the loft. No, we're not. How? Ruth's voice broke. We have a map, but no tools. We have evidence, but no way to use it. Dutch has tools, I said. Both sisters looked at me. Dutch Kellerman. He's a blacksmith, but he's also been keeping records. 8 years of land office discrepancies. I headed for the door. And he's got something else. Something Hackett doesn't know about. Dutch's forge was roaring when I arrived. The heat hit my face. Smelled like coal and hot iron. He was working a horseshoe, hammer ringing steady against the anvil. Heard about the lien, he said without looking up. Need your help. Figured you might. He set down the hammer, pulled off his leather gloves, walked to the back corner and dragged out the burlap-wrapped bundle. Been thinking, Dutch said. If Hackett's men took your surveying equipment, they didn't take this because officially it doesn't exist. He unwrapped Jacob's chain. The metal gleamed in the forge light, the Trinity brand mark clear on the first link. This was your father-in-law's chain, I said, the one he used for all his surveys. Question is, will anyone believe it's authentic? They will, if we make them watch us use it. Public ceremony, measure the boundary the old way, legal, witnessed. I touched the chain, cold metal, solid truth. When the thaw comes, we follow Ruth's map to those stakes. We use this chain to measure, and we make the whole town watch. Dutch nodded slowly. You'll need an authority figure, someone who can order a public land survey. Judge Pritchard won't be here for 4 more weeks. Then you'd better hope he shows up early. The forge popped. Sparks drifted up toward the rafters. Behind me, a horse stamped. I turned. A man stood in the doorway, 60s, gray beard, wool coat covered in road dust, saddlebags over his shoulder. Looking for Caleb Thornton, he said. Told he might be here. Dutch straightened. Judge Pritchard? The man nodded. Got here a bit early. Hope that's not a problem. We sat in Dutch's back room. Cold coffee, stale bread. But the judge didn't complain. Amos Pritchard had the kind of face that had seen everything. Weathered, patient, eyes that missed nothing. Received some concerning letters, he said. Anonymous. Someone in this town has been documenting land office irregularities for years. Figured I should see for myself. Dutch pulled out his ledger, 8 years of records, dates, names, discrepancies marked in red. The judge read in silence, turned page after page. His expression never changed. This is thorough, he finally said. Been my hobby, Dutch said. Better than drinking. And you're certain Vernon Hackett is behind this? Every fraudulent claim benefits him. Every error moves boundaries in his favor. After 8 years, coincidence stops being coincidence. The judge closed the ledger, looked at me. Mr. Thornton, you posted bond for the Brennan sisters? Yes, sir. Why? Their father saved my life. I owe him. Owing a dead man is expensive business. Some debts don't die with the body. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Show me what you have. I unfolded Jacob's map, explained the boundary discrepancy, the survey stakes with the Trinity brand mark, Ruth's calculations. Stakes are buried under snow, I said, but in 2 weeks, maybe 3, the thaw will reach that elevation. We can dig them up. If they still exist? They exist. Jacob Brennan didn't do sloppy work. And you want me to order a public resurvey, using this chain? He touched the metal. On what grounds? Reasonable doubt, new evidence, whatever legal language makes it official. The judge was quiet. Outside, a wagon rattled past. Voices carried on the wind. If I do this, Pritchard said slowly, Vernon Hackett will fight me. He's got lawyers, money, political connections. But he doesn't have you, Dutch said. Everyone knows you can't be bought. Can't be bought and can't be intimidated are different things. You afraid of him? I asked. Pritchard's eyes hardened. Son, I've been circuit judge for 23 years. I've seen men like Vernon Hackett in every territory from Kansas to California. They all think money is the same as law. It's not, and I'll be damned if I let another one prove me wrong. He stood, picked up the chain, felt the weight of it. I'll stay at your ranch, Mr. Thornton. More appropriate than the hotel, and I'll need to interview the Brennan sisters, hear their testimony directly. They'll tell you everything. Good, because in 2 weeks we're going to conduct a public land survey. Every citizen invited, official county business, and if those stakes are where you say they are, he set the chain down. Then Vernon Hackett is going to answer for 8 years of fraud. Hoofbeats outside, fast, urgent. The door swung open, cold air rushed in. Vernon Hackett stood in the doorway, pale, eyes locked on the judge. Your Honor, I didn't expect you until— I know what you expected, Mr. Hackett. Pritchard's voice was cold. That's why I'm here early. The thaw started the second week of March. Not warm yet, just less cold. Ice on the creek cracked during the day. Mud appeared where snow had been. Esther asked to go to town, said she needed to see Timothy. I didn't argue. Ruth went with her. They met by the creek on the east edge of town, the same spot where young folks always met, far enough from watching eyes. Ruth told me about it later, said she stayed back but close enough to hear if Esther needed help. Timothy Moss looked like hell, unshaven, eyes red, hands shaking. He kept glancing over his shoulder like someone might be following. You shouldn't have come, he said. Esther touched his face. You've been avoiding me for 2 weeks. I had to. Why? The creek water moved sluggish under thinning ice. Smelled like thawing earth and rotting leaves, the sound of dripping everywhere, snow melting off branches, eaves, rocks. Timothy pulled away, paced. Esther, there's things you don't know, things I've done. Then tell me. I can't. You can, whatever it is. I've been altering land office records. The words came out fast, desperate. For 3 years, Vernon Hackett pays me. $50 a month. I change dates, forge signatures, move boundary lines in the ledgers. Esther went still. My father's deed. I did it. He told me it was Jacob's signature, that Jacob had signed before he died but forgot to file it. I believed him at first, but then— His voice broke. Then your father died, and Hackett told me to backdate the deed 2 weeks, make it look like Jacob filed after his death, proof of forgery. The wind picked up. Cold rain started falling. Not snow, rain. You helped frame us, Esther whispered. I didn't know they'd hang you, I swear. Hackett said it was just business, just moving some boundaries. He said nobody would get hurt. My father's dead. Timothy's face crumpled. I didn't know about that. Not until after. When the investigation started, I found letters in Hackett's office, correspondence with 2 men, payments. I realized— He grabbed her hands. Esther, Hackett had your father killed, and if I testify, he'll say I was part of it. I could hang. Ruth said Esther stood there in the rain, water running down her face, couldn't tell if she was crying or just wet. Then testify anyway, Esther said. I'll die. We're all going to die if you don't. Her voice was steady, hard. My sisters, Caleb, me, we hang in 5 weeks. You can stop that. He'll implicate me in the murder. Then we both tell the truth and trust the judge, or we both live with lies. She pulled her hands free. I can't decide for you, Timothy, but I can't marry a man who lets innocent people hang to save himself. She walked away, left him standing in the rain. Ruth said he stood there for a long time, just staring at the water. Then he walked toward the church. Not the land office. The church, maybe to pray, maybe just to think. Either way, something had broken in him. Judge Pritchard called a town meeting that evening. Not a request, a judicial order. The hall was packed again. Same faces, same tobacco smoke. But the energy was different, uncertain. The judge stood at the front, didn't sit, didn't ask permission. I am ordering a public land survey, he said. His voice carried. No shouting needed. The disputed boundary between Vernon Hackett's North Pasture and the Brennan claim will be remeasured using historical surveying protocols. All citizens are invited to witness. Hackett stood. Your Honor, the county's records are under investigation. Until that investigation concludes, I'm ordering an independent survey. Pritchard didn't look at him, looked at the crowd. This will be conducted in 2 weeks, weather permitting. We'll use the original surveying chain belonging to Jacob Brennan. We'll follow the maps and field notes from the 1867 survey. Murmurs rippled through the room. This is highly irregular, Hackett said. His voice stayed calm, but his neck was red. So is systematic fraud. Pritchard finally looked at him. You'll have every opportunity to observe. Bring your lawyers. Bring your own surveyors. This will be legal, transparent, witnessed by the community. He turned to me. Mr. Thornton, you'll lead the survey party? Mr. Kellerman will assist? Miss Ruth Brennan will navigate using her father's original maps. Ruth stood beside me. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. Your Honor, my father's notes are very specific. The primary boundary marker is located at the creek bend, north bank, 3 feet from the large willow root. I knew that willow, 50 years old at least, roots thick as a man's leg. Can you find it? The judge asked. If the ground's thawed enough to dig. Yes, sir. Pritchard nodded. Then we dig, and whatever we find, or don't find, will be entered into the official record. Hackett's lawyer stood, thin man, expensive suit. Your Honor, this is a waste of county resources. The official deed has been validated by a recorder's office that's under investigation. Pritchard's voice went cold. Sit down, counselor. You'll have your chance to object during the actual survey. The lawyer sat. Dutch stepped forward. Your Honor, I'd like to volunteer my shop as the assembly point. Neutral ground, not county property. Approved. The judge pulled out his pocket watch. 2 weeks from today, 8 o'clock in the morning, rain or shine. Every citizen who wants to see justice done, be there. He closed the watch with a snap. The sound echoed. Hackett stood slowly. This is a mistake, Your Honor. Then you have nothing to worry about, Mr. Hackett. Truth has a way of revealing itself. The meeting ended. People filed out into the cold rain. Some looked hopeful, others looked scared. Most just looked confused. Outside, the rain fell harder, mud everywhere. The sound of water dripping from eaves, running through gutters, filling ruts in the road. Spring was coming, and with it, the truth. Nora found me by the horses. 2 weeks, that's cutting it close. It's enough. What if the ground's still frozen? What if we can't dig? Then we lose. Wait in. She studied my face, rain ran down her cheeks. You really think this will work? I looked toward Dutch's shop, saw the judge standing in the doorway, arms crossed, saw Ruth talking to townspeople, explaining the survey, saw Timothy Moss walking past alone, shoulders hunched. I think, I said slowly, that we're going to find out if this town still believes in something besides money. The morning came clear and cold, early April, the kind of day where you can smell spring trying to break through winter's grip. We gathered at Dutch's shop just after dawn. Must have been 80 people, maybe more, lined up along the street in wagons, on horseback, come to watch history get measured. Judge Pritchard stood on a crate. This is an official county land survey. Conducted under my authority, what we find today becomes part of the permanent record. Hackett arrived with 3 lawyers and a hired surveyor, clean suits, polished boots, the kind of men who never got mud on themselves. I wore my old work coat. Ruth had her father's maps in a leather case. Dutch carried the chain, Jacob's chain, wrapped in canvas. The judge looked at me. Mr. Thornton, you may proceed. We walked east. The whole crowd followed. A strange parade, boots squelching through mud, the smell of wet earth and new grass just starting to push through. The disputed boundary was 2 miles out, near the creek where the willows grew thick. Ruth walked beside me, studying her father's map. Starting point should be the old fence post, the one with the rock cairn. Found it after 20 minutes, half buried in mud. The rocks Jacob had stacked still there after 9 years. Dutch unwrapped the chain. The metal caught the morning light. The Trinity brand marked clear on the first link. He handed me one end, took the other himself. We stretched it taut. The chain creaked, same sound from the punishment post, same sound from the mine shaft, the sound of metal under tension, the sound of truth being tested. My hands remembered that sound, my bones remembered. 66 feet, Ruth called out. Mark it. I drove a wooden stake into the mud. The crowd pressed closer, watching, whispering. We measured again and again, each length of chain another step toward the truth. The rhythm steadied me, stretch, measure, mark, the way Jacob taught me 20 years ago. Hackett's surveyor measured behind us with modern equipment, checking our work, looking for errors, found none. After an hour we reached the creek. The water ran high with snowmelt, brown and fast. The willows hung over the bank, branches touching the surface. Ruth studied the map. North bank, 3 feet from the large willow root. The willow stood massive, trunk thick as a barrel. Roots exceeded where the bank had eroded. Must have been there 70 years, maybe more. This is it, she said. Her voice shook. If Papa's stake is anywhere, it's here. Dutch pulled out a shovel, handed it to me. I knelt in the mud, started digging. The ground was soft, wet, but underneath, maybe 18 inches down, it was still half frozen. The shovel rang against hard earth. The crowd pressed closer. I heard breathing, shuffling, the creek water rushing past. 2 feet down, the shovel hit something solid, not rock, wood. My heart hammered. I dug faster, hands shaking. Dutch knelt beside me, pulling mud away. A corner appeared, then another, square post, oak, 4 inches across. We cleared around it, lifted it free. The wood was dark, weathered, but charred on the outside, preservation technique, and burned into the surface, still clear after 9 years. 3 overlapping circles, the Trinity brand mark. Below it, carved deep, March 14th, 1867, J.B. The crowd gasped. Ruth's hand covered her mouth. Tears ran down her face. She touched the mark with trembling fingers. Papa's stake. It's real. It's here. I looked up, found Hackett in the crowd. His face was pale, jaw tight. Judge Pritchard pushed through, examined the stake, ran his fingers over the brand mark. This is authentic surveying work. Historical protocol. The date matches the field notes. It's a fake, Hackett said, voice too loud. They planted it. In frozen ground? The judge looked at him. This stake has been here for years. The weathering proves it. The tree root growing around it proves it. Hackett's lawyer stepped forward. Your Honor, one stake doesn't prove... It proves the original survey placed the boundary here, 200 yards west of your client's claim. Pritchard stood. Which means every deed filed after 1867 that moved this line was fraudulent. The crowd erupted, voices overlapping, some angry, some relieved, some just shocked. I saw Timothy Moss at the back, white as snow, staring at the stake like it was his own gravestone. Then he pushed through the crowd. Your Honor, his voice cracked. I need to make a statement. Everyone went quiet. Timothy pulled a leather ledger from his coat, hands shaking so hard he almost dropped it. This is the real land office record, the one we kept hidden. It shows every alteration made to county deeds over the past 3 years. Hackett moved fast. Moss, shut your mouth. I altered Jacob Brennan's deed. Timothy's words came faster now, desperate. Vernon Hackett paid me $50 a month to change dates, forge signatures, move boundaries in the registry books. I did it because I needed the money, because I was a coward. His voice broke. But I didn't know about the murder, not until after. I found letters in Hackett's office, payments to 2 men, instructions. I realized Mr. Brennan was killed because he discovered the fraud. The crowd pressed closer. Dangerous now, angry. Hackett's hand moved toward his coat. And I can't... Timothy looked at Esther. She stood with her sisters, tears on her face. I can't marry you knowing I helped kill your father. I can't live with this anymore. He held out the ledger to the judge. Hackett pulled a pistol. The crowd scattered. Women screamed. Men dove aside. The gun barrel came up, pointing at Judge Pritchard. I moved without thinking, stepped between them. You want to shoot somebody? Shoot me. Caleb, move. Hackett's voice was cold, dead. No. I'll kill you. I'll kill. Then you'll have to, because that judge is going to see this through. Dutch came up beside me, then Ruth, then Nora. One by one, townspeople stepped forward, forming a wall between Hackett and the judge. Sheriff Cobb finally moved, walked up slow, hand on his own gun. Vernon, put it down. He's destroying everything. You destroyed it yourself. Cobb's voice was tired, sad. I got a family, got a mortgage you hold, but I ain't watching you shoot people in front of half the county. For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then Dutch's hand shot out, grabbed Hackett's wrist, twisted. The gun fell into the mud. Cobb picked it up, pulled out handcuffs. Vernon Hackett, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud. Maybe murder too, depending on what's in that ledger. The cuffs clicked shut. The wind died down. The creek water sounded louder suddenly. Birds singing in the willows. Judge Pritchard took the ledger from Timothy. Mr. Moss, you'll be charged as an accessory, but your testimony and cooperation will be noted. Timothy nodded, just nodded. Looked 10 years older. The judge turned to the crowd, held up the stake with the Trinity brand. This survey is concluded. The original Brennan boundary is validated. All subsequent deeds moving this line are hereby voided. The Brennan sisters are cleared of all charges. The courthouse steps were packed 2 days later. Cold morning, sky gray with rain coming, smelled like wet stone and new growth. Judge Pritchard stood at the top, black robe, gavel in hand. The whole town spread out below him. Vernon Hackett stood in handcuffs, his lawyers beside him, face blank now, all the fight gone out of him. "Vernon Hackett," the judge said, "you are charged with conspiracy to defraud the county, falsification of public records, and conspiracy to commit murder. Based on evidence presented, including the ledger provided by Timothy Moss and corroborating testimony from Dutch Kellerman, this court finds sufficient cause for trial." He brought the gavel down. The crack echoed across the square. "You will be held without bond pending trial. Your assets are frozen. All land claims filed through the county recorder's office between 1868 and 1876 will be audited." Hackett's jaw worked, but he said nothing. Sheriff Cobb led him away. The crowd parted. Some spat. Others just watched in silence. The judge turned to Timothy Moss. "Mr. Moss, you have confessed to conspiracy and falsification of records. However, your cooperation and testimony have been noted. This court sentences you to 2 years supervised labor and restitution of all wages received from Vernon Hackett." Timothy's shoulders sagged. Relief or exhaustion, hard to tell. "Thank you, Your Honor." Esther stood in the crowd. Didn't move toward him, didn't look away either, just stood there, face unreadable. Then the judge turned to us. "The Brennan claim is hereby validated. 480 acres plus water rights are restored to Nora, Ruth, and Esther Brennan. All charges are dismissed." Ruth grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug in. Nora's eyes closed. Esther just cried. "Mr. Thornton," the judge motioned me forward. "Your bond is returned, with penalty." He handed me a bank draft, $1,440, my $1,200 plus 20%. "The county apologizes for false charges. You are also owed thanks. Your persistence prevented a miscarriage of justice." I folded the paper, tucked it in my coat. "Just paying a debt, Your Honor." Jacob Brennan would be proud. The crowd applauded. Not everyone. Some still looked uncertain, scared of what came next, but enough that it felt like something had shifted. Dutch pushed through, clapped my shoulder. "Drinks on me tonight. Don't drink much anymore." Then coffee, strong and black. The judge dismissed the assembly. People drifted away, back to shops, back to homes, back to lives that would go on despite everything. Nora stood by the courthouse wall, staring at the place where Hackett had stood. "You all right?" I asked. "My father's vindicated. His killers are arrested. We have our land back." She looked at me. "Why don't I feel better?" "Because justice doesn't bring people back." "No, it doesn't." We stood there in the cold. The first drops of rain started falling, soft, steady. "What now?" she asked. "Now you rebuild your father's ranch, your family's name." "We don't know how. Ruth's a good surveyor, but none of us can run a ranch alone." She paused. "Papa always said ranching takes partnership. 2 people minimum. 3 is better." I understood what she wasn't saying. "You're offering me a stake?" "We're offering you a home." She turned to face me full on. "You need the land. We need the expertise. It's not charity. It's partnership." Ruth came up beside her. "We talked about it, all 3 of us. You saved our lives. Maybe we can save yours too." I thought about my empty cabin. 4 years of silence, meals eaten alone, no one to share the work or the worry. Then I thought about the last month, the noise, the arguments, the sisters bickering over breakfast, Ruth singing while she worked. Even Nora's suspicious glares had become familiar, comfortable. "Partnership," I said, "equal shares." "Legal papers." "Equal shares," Nora agreed. "And the ranch keeps the Brennan name." Wouldn't have it any other way. We shook hands. Her grip was strong, real. The rain fell harder. 3 weeks later, the world turned green, real spring, not the false promises of March, actual warmth, grass pushing through mud, wildflowers in the meadow, the creek running clear and fast. Dutch finished the brand iron on a Saturday morning. I watched him work the forge, heat and hammer, metal glowing red, then orange, then yellow-white. He shaped the 3 circles carefully, perfect overlaps, the Trinity mark, Jacob Brennan's mark. When he plunged it into water, steam hissed up, the metal sang. "That's good work," I said. "Should be. Had a good teacher." He pulled it out, examined the mark. "Jacob showed me how to do this. Back in '65. Said a man's brand should mean something, should stand for something." What did this one stand for? 3 circles, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but also He touched each circle. Measure twice, record true, stand by your work. He handed it to me. That's what Jacob lived by, what he died for. The metal was still warm, heavy, real. We rode out to the Brennan Ranch that afternoon. All of us. Dutch, the sisters, me. The property looked different now, not abandoned, not cursed, just land that needed work. Ruth had drawn up plans, where to rebuild the barn, where to expand the corral, where to plant the kitchen garden. Esther talked about starting a school, teaching ranch kids to read, something useful, something her father would have wanted. Nora just walked the property line, hands in her pockets, looking at the horizon like she was seeing it for the first time. We hung the brand iron over the gate, the main entrance, where everyone would see it. Dutch drove the nails, each one solid, permanent. When he finished, we stood back. The iron gleamed against the weathered wood, 3 circles catching the afternoon light. What do we call it now? Ruth asked. The Brennan Thornton Ranch? I shook my head. Just call it home. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Not a storm, just spring rain coming, the good kind. The kind that makes things grow. The first drops fell warm, not like winter rain. This was different, softer, kinder. We stood there as it came down, washing the dust away, soaking into the dry ground, filling the creek, bringing life back to land that had known too much death. Nora looked at the brand mark, water running down the metal. My father made that mark mean something, lived by it, died for it. And now it lives on, Dutch said quietly. Ruth touched the iron. Her fingers traced the circles. 3 families used to live on this land, Apache, ranchers, and miners. Papa always said they should have worked together instead of fighting. Maybe that starts now, I said. Esther smiled, first real smile I'd seen from her. A rancher, a surveyor, and 3 sisters who don't know what they're doing. That's not much of an army. It's enough, Nora said. It's a start. The rain fell steady now, the smell of wet earth and grass, the sound of water on the roof of the barn, on the leaves, on the brand iron over the gate. I thought about Jacob in that mine shaft, the chain, in the darkness, his voice. Hold tight, son. I'd held tight. Through winter, through doubt, through everything, and somehow, we'd made it to spring. Dutch cleared his throat. Should head back before this turns into a real storm. Go ahead, I said. I'll lock up. They left one by one. Ruth whistling, Esther laughing at something Dutch said, Nora pausing to look back once before riding on. I stood alone under the brand mark, rain dripping from my hat, boots sinking into mud. The land stretched out green and alive. The creek ran full. Birds sang in the willows where we'd found Jacob's stake. Some marks save your life once, some save it every day after. Now, friend, you might think that's where the story ends. Spring came, justice won, and everybody lived happily ever after like some fairy tale. But the truth is that April was just the beginning. I learned something in the winter of '76 that took me 52 years to understand. A man's mark isn't what he burns into wood or metal, it's what he leaves in the hearts of folks who knew him. Jacob Brennan left his mark on me in a mine shaft in '68. I spent years thinking I owed him a debt, thought I was paying it back by saving his daughters. But standing there with Nora and Ruth and Esther, watching that brand mark shine in the rain, I realized he'd given me something more than life. He gave me a chance to be part of something that outlasts a man. The ranch thrived, took work, took patience, but by October we had 40 head of cattle fattened and ready for market. Ruth surveyed 3 neighboring properties that summer, first woman surveyor the county ever licensed, made good money at it. 2. Esther started that school, 8 children the first year, 19 the second, taught them reading and arithmetic, taught them that your past don't have to define your future. Timothy Moss worked off his sentence helping rebuild the properties Hackett had stolen. 2 years of hard labor taught him what money couldn't. Last I heard, he and Esther were talking again, slow, careful, but talking. Dutch got elected county recorder, cleaned up 8 years of fraud in 18 months, still runs his forge too, says honest work keeps a man honest. And me? Well, I stopped eating alone. Stopped working alone. Stopped pretending that independence and isolation were the same thing. Some nights we sit on the porch, all of us, and watch the sun go down over land that nearly cost everything. The brand mark catches the last light. 3 circles that mean more now than they did when Jacob first welded them together. Nora still don't talk much, but she laughs sometimes, usually at my expense. Ruth surveys by day, keeps the books by night, sharp as her father ever was. Esther teaches children their letters, plants flowers by the gate every spring. And in town, when folks talk about the winter of '76, they don't They don't talk about Vernon Hackett anymore. They talk about the surveyor's brand, about truth buried under snow, about how sometimes the ground keeps secrets until spring comes to tell them. I touch that brand mark every time I pass through the gate. Same gesture I used when I first touched it on Nora's wrist. Reminds me. Some debts get paid in silver, some get paid in blood, but the ones that matter most, those get paid in years, in showing up, in building something that lasts after you're gone. Your father saved my life. I told those girls that first day. Turns out they saved mine right back. The truth of it is this, friend. Redemption ain't something you chase. It's something you live. One sunrise at a time. One honest measurement. One shared meal. One season turning into the next. And when your time comes, when the last chain gets measured and the final stake gets driven, you hope the mark you left means something, stands for something, lives on in folks who'll touch it and remember. The creek runs year-round now, never freezes, never stops, just like the truth, just like mercy, just like the mark of 3 circles that saved us all.